My name is Sophie Carter. I'm 34 years old, and for the last 2 years, I've been paying my brother's rent. Quietly.
Consistently.
And invisibly. What makes it worse? Everyone in my family thought he was the one helping me. That lie sat in my chest long before the picnic. Long before the plastic tables, the folding chairs, the forced smiles. I told myself I'd let it slide again. I always did. But that morning, while getting dressed, I made myself a promise. One more disrespectful joke, and I'm done. I just didn't expect the joke to come with an audience. We were at a family picnic just outside Nashville. Sun blazing. Kids running around with sticky hands. Someone's Bluetooth speaker trying and failing to keep things cheerful. I was halfway through my drink when I heard the sound that made my stomach tighten.
Tap, tap, tap.
My brother stood up, plastic cup in hand, tapping it with a fork until conversations died down and faces turned. "All right, everybody," he said, grinning. A toast. I already knew where this was going. I always did. A toast, he continued, eyes locking onto mine, to the one who always shows up, broke, desperate, and still trying to matter. For a second, it didn't even feel real, like my brain lagged behind my ears. Then I heard the laughter. My parents laughed. A couple of cousins laughed. Someone actually whistled. My brother smiled wider, like this was just another harmless family tradition. And in that exact moment, my mind flashed back to a text from the week before. "Rent's due again. Can you move some money? I swear it's the last time." I remembered staring at my banking app, feeling less like a sister and more like an overdraft ATM with a pulse. Have you ever had a family joke that didn't feel like a joke at all? More like a blade, slid carefully between your ribs? My face burned, but my hands didn't shake. I stood up, raised my cup, and felt something inside me finally go quiet. "To the desperate one," I said calmly, my voice steady enough to scare even me, "who just closed the account funding your rent." The sound died instantly. Not faded, not awkwardly laughed off. It just stopped, like someone hit mute on the entire family. My brother's grin froze mid-smirk. My mom's smile collapsed. My dad stopped laughing so suddenly it looked like his face glitched. No one spoke. That silence was sharper than anything he'd said. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then my brother forced a chuckle, brittle and fake. "Very funny, Soph," he said. "You've always been dramatic." My dad jumped in, desperate to smooth it over. All right, he said, lifting his cup. "Let's not make a big deal out of a joke. We're here to have fun." But he wouldn't look at me. I didn't sit back down. I stood there, cup still raised, feeling that familiar pressure in my chest, the one that always showed up right before I caved. The same pressure I felt a year earlier when my brother called me from his car, pretending to choke up, telling me he'd be homeless without me. Back then, I'd been in a conference room in Austin, Texas, where I work as a senior data analyst. I'd walked out of a meeting and wired him money I couldn't afford. I remember thinking, if I don't help him, what kind of sister am I? Standing there now, in front of my family, I finally asked the question I'd avoided for 2 years. If I keep helping like this, what kind of brother am I turning him into? He leaned toward me, voice low now. No humor left. "You really closed it," he whispered. "You're kidding." "No," I said. And for the first time in my life, I didn't explain myself. My mom shifted in her chair, voice soft but uneasy. "Sophie, not here," she murmured. "We don't need to talk about money in front of everyone." But I was already talking. Not to them, not really, I was talking to him. Tyler, my older brother by 3 years, the golden child, the professional victim, looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Megan, his girlfriend, finally spoke, her voice a whisper I didn't think anyone would hear. "Tyler," she said. And just like that, his name, real, alive, not just my boy or my son, hit the air. "You told me you were handling it," she said softly. He shot her a warning glance. "I am handling it," he snapped, turning back to me. "What is this? Punishing me because you're mad about a joke?" I didn't answer. I let the silence do some of the work for me. I took a slow sip from my cup, eyes fixed on him. No frantic apologies. No nervous laugh. Just a simple, unshakable boundary. It's a strange thing, being the one finally saying no. One moment, everyone expects you to give. The next, when you do not, suddenly you're the selfish one. Let's talk later. My dad tried, clearing his throat. You know your brother, Tyler didn't mean anything by it. I looked at him with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Yes, I knew him. And that's exactly the problem. If we talk about it later, I said, cup still half raised, it'll just be another time we pretend this isn't happening.
He scoffed.
So, you think standing up in front of everyone embarrassing me makes you strong? I met his eyes. I think not paying rent for a man with 2 hands and a working car is long overdue. I didn't whisper. I didn't scream. I just said it. Megan's eyes widened, like she was seeing him for the first time. And maybe for a fraction of a second, so did I. Part of me wanted to soften it. He's still my brother. Maybe just give him a little. But the other part, the part that had canceled the automatic payment the night before, held me in place. You really closed it? Tyler asked again, voice dropping, almost pleading. No, I said.
Calm. Clear.
Final. This time, I'm done paying your rent. The rest of the picnic blurred. Kids ran in loops, shouting and laughing. Adults pretended everything was normal. But I caught the glances, the sideways looks, the whispers, the sudden quiet every time someone noticed our frozen standoff. By the time I left, I made an excuse about finishing work at my hotel. No one argued. No one stopped me. The drive back to my room outside Nashville felt like a blur of headlights and highway signs, but my mind replayed every word, every look, every laugh. By the time I dropped my keys on the dresser and sank onto the edge of the bed, my phone was exploding. Family group chat pings, missed calls, texts from my mom and dad, and of course, Tyler. I let them sit there. I didn't answer. Not yet. Finally, curiosity, and maybe dread, won. I tapped his voice note. Soph, that was messed up. Okay, look, you can't just cut me off like that. Rent's due Monday. I've got like $80 in my account. If you don't send it, I'm screwed. Seriously. This isn't just about the joke. You know how hard it's been since the layoff. I'm not asking forever. Just this month, please. And then, the line that made my jaw clench. You know, I'd help you if it were the other way around. We both knew the truth. If the roles were reversed, he'd have sent a sad emoji, maybe a tough luck, but never actual money. Not like I had month after month for almost 2 years. I opened my banking app, thumb hovering over the transfer button, muscle memory urging me to click. The account I'd labeled TC Housing stared back, like a silent ledger of my sacrifice. I'd saved him more times than I could count. 3 months. 6. 12. Then 2 years. Each time, thinking it would be the last. Each time convincing myself I was helping. Now, I realized I wasn't helping. I was enabling. I pressed cancel on the recurring payment. A notification blinked. This recurring payment has been canceled. 1 sentence. 2 years of unpaid emotional interest. I grabbed the mic icon in Tyler's chat and recorded my voice note. Tyler, I heard your message. I'm not sending the rent. I'm sorry you're struggling, but this setup isn't helping you. It's just draining me. You're going to have to talk to your landlord, work out a plan, pick up more hours, whatever it takes. But I'm done being your backup income. If you want help figuring out a budget or job options, or just need someone to listen while you make a plan, I'll help. But not with money. I hit send. And just like that, the anchor dropped. The next morning, my phone was a war zone. 3 missed calls from Dad. 1 from Mom. A dozen texts pinging faster than I could read. Family group chat? On fire. We need to talk about what happened yesterday. Dad. Please stop fighting in front of everyone.
Mom.
Tyler's messages. A wall of accusations. Humiliation. Weaponizing money. Turning Dad and Mom against me. I didn't respond. Not a single word. I drove to my parents' house instead. I needed to see this in person. Face to face. The living room felt like a courtroom. Dad leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Mom hovered near the sink, hands gripping a perfectly clean plate as if it could anchor her. Tyler sat at the table, foot bouncing, eyes darting. Megan beside him, silent, watching. Dad broke first. Closing that account without warning in the middle of a toast? That was low, Sophie. I laughed. Not with amusement. No, it was ironic, sharp. Closing the account? That was overdue. Tyler slammed his palm on the table. You could have just talked to me. You didn't have to drag my business out in front of everyone. My business, I corrected him quietly. My money. My account. My name on the transfers. You turned my generosity into your entitlement. Megan's voice finally cut through, calm but firm. How long has she been paying your rent, Ty?
His face tightened.
It's not like that, he muttered. Answer her, I pressed. He glared.
A year.
Maybe a little more. I let that hang. Repeated his words from the picnic. To the one who always shows up broke, desperate, and still trying to matter. The echo hit differently now. Not a joke. Not a toast. A mirror. Tyler's face drained of color. You're twisting everything, he shouted. I got laid off twice. You sit there with your big tech job and act like I'm lazy. You're not lazy, I said quietly. You're comfortable. There's a difference. Dad finally snapped. Enough. This is getting out of hand. Sophie, you can't just abandon your brother like this. Family helps family. I met his gaze evenly. Family also doesn't humiliate the person keeping the lights on. And they don't lie about where the money goes. I opened my phone and pulled up a screenshot. Notifications from my bank showing large cash withdrawals after each rent transfer. You told me it went straight to the landlord, I said. But you've been pulling most of it out in cash. Why? Tyler's eyes darted. That's none of your business. Megan stiffened. Did you use her money for bets? She asked, voice steady. He exhaled sharply, ugly and shaky. Not rent, not car bets. I always meant to put it back. The odds were good. I thought I could flip it and get ahead. Then something went wrong, and I had to cover that. I finished his thought for him. And you dug deeper. He looked at me, half hatred, half desperation. You don't get to sit there and act like you've never messed up, he snapped. And he wasn't wrong. I remembered my 20s, sitting on a thin mattress, red numbers glaring from my bank account. I'd made stupid choices, yes. Nights I couldn't afford. Cars I didn't need. But I survived. Alone. The only difference? I didn't have anyone else on speed dial to bail me out. I don't think I'm better than you, I said quietly. I had to learn earlier that no one was going to clean up my mess. And somewhere along the way, I started cleaning up yours. Megan let out a breath that sounded almost like a sob. You told me it was temporary, she said softly. You never said she'd been paying your rent for almost 2 years while you were gambling with it. Tyler opened his mouth, then shut it. I shook my head. I'm not punishing you, Tyler. I'm refusing to help you stay sick. He laughed once. Sharp, humorless. You always did like therapy words, he muttered. Maybe, I said. But tell me this, if I kept paying month after month, would you really change? Or just breathe easier and tell yourself you'd quit after things calm down? He didn't answer. Silence hit harder than any excuse ever could. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Not the shocked silence at the picnic, not the stiff, anxious quiet when the gambling was revealed. This silence was different, heavy, the kind that makes you feel every truth you've been avoiding. Tyler's shoulders slumped. Megan reached for his hand, but he didn't take it. She withdrew, like even she couldn't patch this one. My mom spoke first, voice small, shaky. We just wanted to help him get through a rough patch, she said. He's our son. When he said he'd be on the street without help, what were we supposed to do? I softened my tone. Not for him, but so Tyler could hear the message without twisting it into blame. You were never supposed to be the floor for him to fall on, I said gently. I'm not here to be the floor anymore. I won't cover what he refuses to handle himself. My dad winced. We didn't know about the gambling, he admitted. We thought he was just behind, but we all knew how that sentence ended. If we had known, they wouldn't have changed the system, they would have only worried more while enabling it. Tyler shook his head, eyes glossy. So now I'm the villain? You're not a villain, I said firmly. You're a person who made bad choices and kept leaning on the easiest solution until it stopped being a solution and became a crutch. Megan wiped her eyes. You told me it was temporary, she repeated, voice breaking. You said your sister offered because she believed in you. You never said she'd been paying your rent for 2 years while you gambled. I didn't interrupt. He didn't answer. His silence spoke louder than any excuse ever could. You get to be the strong sister who finally stands up, I said quietly. And you get to be the person who finally faces the consequences. Tyler's jaw tightened. So, you'd rather watch me hit bottom than bend a little? I shook my head. No, I said softly. I'm choosing my sanity, my future. The version of you who might exist on the other side, one who doesn't need me to play savior to function. The words hung between us, heavy and impossible to ignore. For a moment, Megan looked like she might cry again, but this time, it was clarity, not despair. Tyler's panic flared. Don't go, he pleaded. I'll talk to the landlord. I'll sell stuff.
Get another job.
Please, don't walk away over one mistake. It's not one mistake, Megan whispered. That's the problem. I saw it, the pattern he dragged everyone into. Not just me, not just my parents, but her too. I realized that if I rescued him now, I wouldn't be saving him. I'd be stealing his last chance to learn. I took a deep breath. Tyler, I don't want you to lose your relationships. I don't want you to lose your place. But I also won't keep losing pieces of myself, so you don't face consequences. I love you, but love isn't covering for you, lying for you, or delaying consequences. That's fear dressed as loyalty. The room went silent again. Dad's jaw clenched. Family shows up no matter what, he said. I shook my head. I used to believe that meant no matter what they do to you, you just give. Now I think true love has boundaries. Honesty, effort, respect. Without those, it's not love. It's just duty. And fear. Tyler's eyes filled, but whether it was grief, anger, or shame, I couldn't tell. The hardest part? I wasn't punishing him. I was drawing a line. The line between me disappearing under his mistakes and me finally existing for myself. The tension in the room didn't break instantly. No hugs. No quick reconciliation. Just recognition. Awareness. And for the first time, space. Megan exhaled quietly. I understand now, she whispered. And I realized something important. You can't save someone from themselves. You can only save yourself from being part of the pattern. For the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, freedom. After that day, the house didn't explode into drama the way I'd expected. The conversations didn't magically fix everything, and Tyler didn't suddenly become perfect. But something shifted, something heavier than arguments, stronger than guilt. For the first time in years, my phone wasn't buzzing with frantic, "Can you spot me?" messages. The silence wasn't empty. It was space.
Space to breathe. Space to think.
A space to rebuild boundaries. Tyler sent a few angry texts at first. Hope you're happy. I might actually get kicked out. And don't worry, I won't ask you for anything ever again. I ignored them. I let the silence sit like a heavy weight in the room, not to punish him, but to let reality do the work I'd been doing for him all these years. My parents tried to patch things together in their own way, slipping back into old language. We should help him. He's our son. I told them the same thing every time. You're adults. You can help however you want. I'm out of the rent business.
It was strange, holding that line.
Some nights, it ached like a pulled muscle deep in my chest, especially when I imagined Tyler sitting alone, wondering how it all went so wrong. But other nights, it felt like finally breathing after years underwater. A few weeks later, Mom let slip more than she probably should have. He's been staying with a coworker a few nights a week, she said. He sold his gaming console. And he finally called that counseling number your aunt sent. I felt a mix of relief and dread. Losing his apartment wasn't the easy landing I'd feared. It was the hard one he probably needed. Near midnight a few days later, my phone buzzed.
Tyler,
No greeting. No excuses. Just
got a second job.
nights at the warehouse. Landlord, I moved into a smaller unit with a roommate. I'm not asking for money. Just thought you'd want to know. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. I didn't want to lecture. I didn't want to reinforce the idea that I only cared when he was financially stable. So I typed, I'm glad you found something. That sounds hard and like a step in the right direction. I meant what I said. I won't pay your rent, but if you ever want help building a budget or figuring out a plan, I'm here for that. He didn't respond. And for the first time, his silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. Space for both of us to figure out who we were without the constant money pipeline tying us together. Sometimes I lie awake imagining two futures. In one, Tyler never forgives me. Holiday dinners remain tense.
Group chats stay awkward.
We circle each other like strangers who share DNA. In the other, he does the work. Slowly, trust rebuilds. One day, he jokes gently about the era when I subsidized his rent, and we both know the girl, and man, we are gone. I don't know which future we're heading toward. But for the first time in years, my future isn't chained to his unpaid bills. Months later, the story of the rent toast became family lore. In my parents' version, it was just a day the kids went too far. In my cousin's, it was the day I snapped, and it's kind of iconic. In mine, it's quieter. The day I stopped earning my place in the family with deposits and started protecting my place in my own life. Tyler and I aren't suddenly best friends. We don't text every day or share memes. But we're no longer strangers. Occasionally, he sends a short update. Started full-time at the warehouse. No more temp contracts. Got my own place. One time, a picture of a tiny, ugly kitchen arrived. Caption, not fancy, but it's mine. No cosigner. I stared at it for a long time, then typed, I'm proud of you. And meant it, prouder than when I quietly shuffled money between accounts to keep him afloat. My parents struggled more than we did. They'd slip into old habits. We should help him. I'd remind them gently, helping isn't rescuing. Generosity isn't self-erasure. Little by little, the culture shifted. Instead of expecting me to handle crises, they began asking, what's his plan? What can he do first? We didn't get it right every time. He slipped up. He called for help. Sometimes they said yes, sometimes no. But one line was never crossed. My money wasn't his safety net anymore. And the best part? Our relationship, imperfect, still messy, felt honest. Conversations weren't weighed down by unspoken debts. It was just two flawed adults, trying their best. If there's a lesson here, it's not classic revenge or cutting family off. It's something harder, something deeper. Boundaries aren't walls. They're lines. Lines that show where you end and someone else begins. Without them, you don't love, you disappear. Months later, at a small family gathering, no speeches, no toasts, Tyler nudged me. Relax. No toast today. And I paid my rent this morning. We laughed. Really laughed. And in that laughter, I realized freedom isn't just about saying no. It's about finally letting yourself live and letting someone else face reality on their own.